hearing work? On this channel, I guess how something works and then find out how it actually works. So if you want a more detailed explanation as to how this channel is structured and the method that I'm using, then definitely check out my first video on the channel right here. So a while ago, I pushed myself to really make a detailed guess about how the ear works and the hearing, and I did no pre-studying or anything like that, and now we're going to find out how close I got. So this guess actually started with me explaining what sound waves are, but let me just tell you in this timeline instead. Sound waves, they can be mathematically described as this shape, but this is not the actual shape that they have. They are actually bands of high and low pressure that move away from the sound source in circles that grow. The sound waves are actually just changing the location of the air molecules that were already there to begin with. So let's go back in time to the start of guessing, and yeah, maybe it's a bit embarrassing, but I didn't know that much and I didn't do any pre-studying about it, and yeah, let's just see what I came up with. Yeah, this is the shape of the ear. Okay, so the sound wave is coming in this way. Sound does travel in every direction, but we're talking about the sound that you actually are hearing. This is not fully wrong, but something interesting to add is that the shape of the external ear, it's like a funnel that guides stuff into a narrow location. So the shape of the ear is guiding more sound into the ear than it otherwise would have. If it was just a hole, you would hear a lot less. Let's go back to the guessing. The ear is a hole, right? So it should be round, and we're entering the actual ear at this point. So here is the ear canal. These hairs are not like the actual hearing hairs. These are just the hairs that can pick up wax and debris and stuff like that. So let's go further in, and this is where I'm really gonna have to guess a lot, because I don't know. Obviously it's shaped kind of organically, but I don't know how to do that. I really can't remember a lot about this, so let's just say... Oh, I'm like scared because I know this is gonna be so wrong, but this is the eardrum. So I'm thinking that the eardrum is like made out of skin, but it is true that the eardrum is made out of a skin-like material called the mucosa, and there's also 2 layers of skin on either side of the mucosa. I don't know what it actually does, but I think maybe it's attached with these kind of... I don't know what these are. They are attached with something. Yeah. And I'm thinking that the sound is coming in like this, and the eardrum is kind of vibrating. I'm talking slowly because I know this is so wrong. Obviously I'm making it all up completely. So I said 1 correct thing and 1 incorrect thing here. There are no strings attached to the eardrum. It is just a continuation of the skin that is already on either side of the eardrum. So I think when I was making this guess, I was actually thinking about how maybe the eardrums could be similar to the heart valves. The correct thing I said, however, is that the eardrum is vibrating. Yeah, and it can be opened and it can be closed, let's say. And this is like kind of like the closed position, I guess, but you have to imagine the tunnel going like tightly all around it, of course. And what does it look like when it's open? Kind of like this. So there's like a little gap from the original tunnel. This feels so wrong. Yeah, so as you can tell, I was still kind of thinking about the heart valves when I made this guess. Hopefully this can be inspiring to you, that if you want to have a lot of good, significant knowledge, then often you have to be wrong first before you can be right. Anyway, so the eardrum cannot open. It is completely closed unless I guess you get a ruptured eardrum and then it would be technically open. I also remember having in the back of my mind how the air pressure inside of the ear changes, for example, when you're on an airplane or when you swim underwater and get water in your ear, but those two things actually work differently than how I imagined. So water actually only sits in your external ear and it is stopped by the eardrum and can't enter in further into the ear. Air, however, it can actually enter the ear, but that is through a different passage that we're going to talk about in a different part of this series. Let's check out some more of the guessing. Okay. So we're through the eardrum now. So these red arrows represent where the sound wave is moving, I guess. And at this point, I'm feeling even more lost than before. I guess we're gonna have to like speed through the anatomy because it was so long ago, I really don't remember. Do I? I don't. But I know some stuff. There's a tiny little bone somewhere, but I'm not gonna draw like, oh, that's a tiny little bone. It needs some kind of context. Oh, the horseshoe. The horseshoe. Okay, let's do this. I'm just gonna do the horseshoe right now. And realistically, I'm not gonna remember what it does or where it is. So I'm just gonna put it in a random spot. So this is the horseshoe, and there's a tiny bone in it, and it goes like this, I guess. Oh, not horseshoe, it's called something else. But you know when you do horseback riding, and you put your feet into this kind of, metal thing that you actually put your own foot into. The tiniest bone, I think it's at the bottom of that thing. Yes, so this bone is called the stapes, and it is also called the stirrups because of how it looks. It is the tiniest bone in the body, and it is actually the entire thing that is the tiniest bone in the body, not just the straight little part that I drew. And I think that bone actually can move too. This is true. So let's actually just zoom out a bit and have a look at how all of this works before we continue with the guessing. The bands of thick air beat on the eardrum in different ways depending on what the sound is. The eardrum is connected to this bone called the hammer. And the hammer is hitting on the bone called the anvil when the drum is beating. And then the anvil is hitting on the stirrups, and the stirrups is hitting on a second drum. So all of it is like a Rube Goldberg machine, where it starts with the drum and then the three hammers, and then it goes back to the second drum. And this chain of event doesn't stop here, but we're going to have to put a pin in this explanation because we're following the guessings of me from the past, and I will, get a bunch of different ideas in my head, and eventually we will get back to this, but it will probably be in a different video part. Okay, if we keep going with the horse analogy, I think there's actually a bone kind of like this too, that the horseshoe is attached to. And there's gonna be skin on top of the bone, of course, on top of all of these things, I think. Surely it wouldn't just be exposed bone. Okay, so there isn't skin on these bones, but there's something similar to skin called mucosa. So it's the same material that is inside of the eardrum, and it is also inside of your nose. And there is also air in this cavity. I don't know what the bone does, the tiniest bone in the body, that's what I know. But I'm guessing it has to do with vibration and pain. Oh, a lot of things are coming to mind right now, actually. Vibration and pain. So, as you've seen, it does have to do with vibration when the sound is coming in. But pain, like, if there's a painful sound, then it's gonna have to do with pain a little bit. The thing is, there are different nerve endings in the ear related to pain, spread out over different locations of the ear, but this is not one of those places, so I guess we can say that was wrong. Oh, a lot of things are coming to mind right now, actually. If you spin around a lot, you get dizzy, and the dizziness is actually in your ear, and there's like fluid in your ear. Okay, let's just make some space. I think there's some kind of like huge round cavity inside of the ear like this. And let's make this stuff a little bit smaller so that we have some room to work with here. So first, the fluid that keeps your balance. I'm wondering if it's attached to like this, because I remember there's this circular kind of snail-like shape inside of your ear, but I don't know if that's where the fluid is or not, and I think not actually. Okay, so it's a bit hard to understand what I'm actually meaning here, but I did use the word attached at first, and it is true that the balance system is connected to the snail-shaped structure called the cochlea, and they do share a fluid, but then I think I might have been meaning that the cochlea is the balance system, and that is not the case. But I don't know if that's where the fluid is or not, and I think not actually, because I think this fluid actually can't leave your ear at all, so it's in an enclosed area. Okay, so this depends on the definition of closed. So I think I was imagining it like an actual snail shell, so that there is a large opening, but that is not the case. They are both closed in that sense, but they can have a little bit of an exchange of material with the blood, just like most of the rest of your body. We will go way deeper into this topic in part 2. If you think we're done with the ear, then you're wrong. We're barely even started. So part 2 is coming out in maybe 2 weeks or so. This is a tiny channel, so you can't expect the algorithm to remind you of my videos. So a little fair warning about that. And let me know in the comments, were your initial guess better than mine, worse than mine, more accurate, less accurate, and yeah, are there still any errors in the explanation that I made? Let me know all about it, and thank you so much for watching. Yeah, bye bye, apple pie, see you later, bye. Hej då. Oh nej, fuck.